Macklemore. It's okay.
That was your theme song, right?
Hello again, everyone. So we're about to talk about how to really goose the view counts on Facebook over the next 20 minutes. But before we get started on that, let's have a little bit of a discussion about what we just heard. Scott Havens had a great speech, but he said that it's not impossible to build a business off of squirrel surfing. Josh, you guys just did that, didn't you?
A whole business on squirrel surfing, yes. Short form content, user generated, amazing snackable pieces that we distribute. So there is a business in that. I kind of understand what he's saying from a news organization. However, we do supply content to news organizations like Bloomberg.
Like Bloomberg?
Like Bloomberg, yes.
Just really quickly, like if you can explain sort of what Jukin does.
At the core of the business, we go out, source and acquire amazing user-generated content, and then we acquire the rights. So all media worldwide perpetuity. We then redistribute that to Good Morning America, Today Show, Tosh.0, Ridiculousness, basically anyone using this content, from fails, wins, pets, kids, squirrels on surfboards, dogs on skateboards. Think of it as the most hilarious blooper all the way to the most amazing thing you've ever seen caught on tape.
So one of the themes that we're actually discussing today is what kind of content is resonating on these social platforms. You know, everyone's saying we got to tailor content to the platform. CNN earlier today talked about how they just want to do inspirational stuff, and they're beginning to move toward creating Facebook content for Facebook and so forth. Question for both of you. But in terms of how you guys approach social, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, sort of what is the type of content that's resonating and that's getting people to not only watch but share?
So for Upworthy, just regarding following with the squirrel analogy, I mean, we wouldn't choose that if it was just a squirrel and a surfboard. But if that squirrel was raising money for awareness around a topic that was really important, we would totally take it. So, you know, for us at Upworthy, we're very mission-driven. We believe in telling stories that are making a difference. We're trying to open hearts, open minds, really move the needle around social issues. So, you know, we spend a lot of time sifting the internet for stuff that does that, as well as creating our own original content. And the kinds of topics that are doing well are what you would expect. I mean, our audience comes to Upworthy for what you might expect. It's about stories of people finding hope, finding a silver lining, finding a way through a crisis that you wouldn't have expected. And our audience loves it, and they share it beyond.
Is it always positive stuff? Like, I wonder, like you guys, as part of your business, you have to know what's going to really hit. Are people really only sharing positive stuff, or are fill videos that sort of big and that important?
They are big, and sometimes it's just the contextual relevancy around it. So when we go and find a video that we think is licensable or scalable, et cetera, we actually know metrics behind it. We're looking at the data, shares, engagement, to kind of know if we can push it and help elevate it. We also know what our partners are looking for. So a large part of the business from the acquisition side is, what do the 30+ digital publishers, TV production companies, what are they looking for? So for Upworthy's case, we know that it's positive, uplifting content. So we know for them, there's a certain kind of device we'll use to help say, here's this amazing story, but they kind of write the editorial, they wrap it, they do everything. We're just giving them the story info.
In terms of, because you guys also do some original content, of course on TV, but also on social platforms. How do you package that in terms of it not just being one video, but actually creating a monetizable property, and that's an important part of it, a monetizable property off of that content?
Right. So in defense of what the gentleman was saying regarding Bloomberg, individual assets are good for them just for kind of views and clicks, but there's not necessarily a great business. They need to create a brand. So that's what we did. When we started acquiring all these videos, we looked at the library and said, wow, there's an amazing pet category. There's an amazing category around fails, around people doing extraordinary things, around everyday viral. So we actually verticalized our library and thought of ways to package it. Compilations, hosted formats, doing work with Verizon's Go90 and Comcast Watchable. It can't just be, here's funny videos. It needs a voice, it needs a point of view. So we found different ways to package the short form and extend it to 3 to 5 minutes, 7 minutes, et cetera.
In terms of, similar question, like in terms of how you guys are approaching original, how do you look to kind of package it where it's not just a really short thing?
Yeah, so Upworthy, you know, we've grown a lot in the last 6 months even, and I think what we're doing is what I think any of you learning about, everyone who's in this room would probably do, which is we license a lot of content to see how it performs, how it does with our audience. We then use that information to inform what sort of originals we should be making. And we often will, you know, of course, look for content that's already got a natural viral life, and then we editorialize it into our voice, into our ecosystem, and it does better for us. In terms of the originals, we work really closely with brands. We really see originals as a way to do integrated media. And so far, it's really working for us. But it is that intersection of looking at what's performing well, deciding those topics, making sure they're vertical appropriate, getting the right editorial, and then creating them.
Well, two follow-ups to that. One, could you give an example in terms of that first aspect of it, in terms of licensing, seeing what's hitting, and then that informing the type of stuff you're actually making on your own?
Yeah, a really good example is at the end of last year, we had a video for the Fight for 15 campaign, and it was of a young man who was a Purple Heart vet who would become a chef at KFC. And he was campaigning to try and get $15 an hour. And the video was, in terms of production value, it was shot on someone's iPhone. It was him speaking directly to what I assume is a panel of people making some sort of decisions. And he was so passionate, and he was pleading with them to say, please give me $15 an hour because I can't feed my children, and I've served this country. It's an incredible video, and it did really well for us. It got 25 million views in less than a week. And that sort of creative, which we see again and again and again, which is this single person, very impassioned plea, informs an original strategy that we're actually launching a new series in 2 weeks called Testimony. And it's basically people to camera telling a story about something that is really important to them. And in a Facebook environment, that sort of direct passion, that direct link makes a really big difference.
Mm-hmm. Let's focus on that a little bit now, because you mentioned it just a little bit a few minutes ago. Facebook is a core part of the Upworthy story, right?
Yeah.
From its earliest incarnation now to trying to be a video-first company.
Yes.
But as we've been talking about, it's really hard to make money on Facebook right now if you're a video publisher. What's Upworthy's plan to tackle that?
Well, now that Facebook's just changed their rules.
Yeah.
So, we believe in branded content. That's a primary driver for us. We spend a lot of time with brands talking about editorially how we can do branded content, and from a video perspective, how we do brands. So, the original strategy really plays into that. We see an opportunity for brands to be a part of great testimonial campaigns, or a part of stories around parenting, or a part of stories around products for good. So currently that is our strategy, is to continue really working closely with Facebook, continue to grow our presence on YouTube, really look at our O&O and what we could possibly be doing there, but it's through that branded integration that we're really gonna make a difference.
Would you guys say there's legitimate brand interest in kind of the Facebook aspect of it all? Because the other aspect of that is you don't really get as good reporting on how a video does on Facebook versus versus what you get from YouTube or other platforms. How are brands feeling about that? Yes, there's a 3-second view, there's a 10-second view, but that's really all you kind of get, right?
Actually, it's more granular than that. Our team is pretty good at extracting the information from Facebook in terms of who's watching, when, why, how. I think what we get more than anything is that share rate, which is really important to brands, as well as just that long engagement. We actually look at the 30-second view count. There's the 3-second, which everyone's just like, yeah, that's fine. You're just scrolling, whatever, okay. But the 30-second is where we feel like we're really strong, and brands are particularly interested in that.
What is, I have to ask, what is the typical sort of, how much do you retain 30 seconds in versus 3 seconds?
We basically do, for every 30-second view, we do, 3 times that in 3-second views. What I would say is that in the last 6 months, our video engagement has gone up 500%. And it's because we're really doubling down on testing, we're doubling down on storytelling, and our originals focus, because it's this data plus heart plus art. Those are the 3 intersections that we apply constantly. We've seen a major difference.
How do you guys define engagement in that area? Is it just comments, likes, shares, or is it watch time? What's sort of the key thing for you guys, and is it the same as what brands want when they talk to you about sort of the performance of videos?
For me, it's all about the share, just because our content is less than 30 seconds a lot of times. And so wrapping a brand around it can actually be to the detriment of the video. So you have to get creative in the way either you package it or you're just placing end cards. You're almost pointing and directing. What you're trying to say is, here's our audience. Let's just say we're going to publish it on one of our verticals, one of our brands. Here's the audience, but here's how many impressions it got, and here's where it lived outside of our audience, which is kind of a key metric, because there's always questions about duplication between YouTube and Facebook. Where am I actually tapping new audience? It's like, well, we have 5 million fans, but this actually reached 25 million people. And I think that's the ability to say it kind of broke through the social realm.
Yeah, I'm sorry, wait, what? What was the question?
Shares.
Someone's
shares
not
and
paying
engagement.
attention.
Likes, comments.
I was like, sorry.
What do you say engagement? What are you looking at? Is it likes, comments, shares, watch time?
It's watch time. It's watch time, but it's also shares. I mean, we are one of the most highly shared publishers on Facebook, and we just see our video content going into more hands than ever before.
So the topic of this session is going viral on social. What happened to YouTube? No one talks about YouTube anymore. Is it not sexy anymore? What's the problem there?
I think YouTube is still, it's a difficult beast just because it's search-based, right? Everyone that's going there is search. They're not logged in a lot of times. So what Facebook has been able to capitalize on, we're all logged in users. We're logged in for everything, to pay bills, to swipe, whatever we're doing, mostly swiping. But everyone's logged in, and so they know exactly what to put in your feed, which is why shareability is so high, which is why view counts are so high so fast. So the same rate it used to take to get to 1 million views on YouTube is happening in a matter of 24 hours on Facebook. It would take a week, let's say, on YouTube.
So would you say YouTube's not as important anymore, or in
It's
terms
still-
of going viral, in terms of getting great reach among a large audience?
I still think from a search basis, it is the absolute place. Search is terrible on Facebook. It's barely anything to search other than going to the page and trying to type in something. So I think for everyone that discovers content, let's say you're watching Today's Show this morning, you see that video, you want to seek it out. The way to seek it out is to Google it, right? And they're going to give you YouTube video as a top search result. But I do believe that Facebook, for kind of the mass quantity of saying, look at how many views it got, where all of us are referring to Facebook. If it got 50 million views, it didn't happen on YouTube probably in the last 6 months.
Right.
I think for us, it's, so Upworthy has always been a Facebook kind of, focused company. Video
Really?
has a lot more opportunities. We've spent a lot of time actually this year analyzing the opportunity on YouTube, and we are going to spend a lot more time there in the coming months, years. But I would say it's a resource question, right? I mean, we tailor content to the platform. We don't sort of have the one thing that we chunk out just slightly differently for each one. It is unique to that platform, which means you have to have the hands to do it, right? And so my whole video team, which includes audience development and includes our licensing team, is less than 10 people. And so in that environment of 10 people, to be kind of punching at the weight that we're punching at is surprising, but it's because we're just so focused on success on Facebook. But what we're doing now is we're going to expand. We're going to look at getting in YouTube experts and spending more time in that space to see what we can do there.
I was going to say, I think YouTube's so important from a legacy perspective because that is where you can do brand building. But I think Facebook as a complementary system is just programming a different platform. So I think to the same point, we don't actually program the same way on each platform. Facebook is shorter, a lot quicker attention span. You can get away with more.
How about just the fact that YouTube does have at least a more established revenue model for
Also a positive. The fact that you get paid is great. But I think, also on YouTube, you've built up an audience that is very vocal, that doesn't like change. So if you built your brand doing vlogs, or if you built it doing programming of a certain type, you can't really test and iterate. That's why people made second channels, third channels a lot of times. At least on Facebook, I feel like the audience is more participatory, not necessarily so sadistic.
Yeah, because their names are attached to them.
Right, definitely true.
One aspect of sort of the YouTube-Facebook relationship is this, I guess the term is now freebooting, which is basically someone taking a video that you might have put on YouTube and then re-upload, or even if you put it on Facebook, and uploading it on their own pages on Facebook. How pervasive of a problem would you say this is, and how does it affect publishers that are doing content for Facebook in the hopes that one day that will be also a monetizable sort of investment?
In our world, it's probably the largest problem that we encounter in the fact that no one can identify the original owner of this content a lot of times. You know when a Warner Brothers movie is clearly uploaded or ripped or stolen, or a Beyonce video, but the cat, in the kitchen who's knocking over freaked out by cucumbers, you don't know really what the original source is, and our whole business is to find that owner and actually help protect their rights, not only just to monetize it for them, but protect those rights. So there's a global problem on Facebook they're trying to address, but until now it has not been done.
Is that a concern for you guys? I mean, if you have a video that's doing like 30, 40 million views on Facebook, is there a worry that someone's going to take it and just put it on their own page and steal some of those viral views?
Not really. I mean, we're pretty happy to have people take it and share it. I mean, most of the time we're trying to make a statement about something. We're trying to make a difference. So we're happy to see it go into other people's worlds and spend time there and garner more views. We try to collaborate with other content groups, whether it be an individual or a group, to try and be able to track those views. Like if you look at it now, This News or an AJ Plus, that's a lot of how they get their views is through partners like us actually. And every week they call me, go, how many views did it get? And we all share that information. But in terms of that organic, person in the Midwest who's just sharing it and put it on her page, we're not too worried.
But does that change once Facebook has an ad model that, is enough to give like a meaningful revenue back? Like, does that approach change when now they're not just sharing it, but they're sharing it and also making money off of your content that they had no participation in creating?
What I would say is that my ideal scenario would be that content that she's sharing is a branded piece of content that has the brand deeply ingrained in it in a way that's organic, that feels natural, that is telling a story. And so actually everyone wins because the brand would get that recognition, we would continue to have high share rates, and it would basically be a win-win.
Okay. With that, we have a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists? Right up here. 1 second.
Thank you. In your case, so all the monetization comes from branded content on YouTube, on Facebook, or do you see any other ways? Of course, Facebook hasn't really disclosed the rules for commercial video yet, but I guess we're all trying to get the audience going, building the community and everything. But is it really a business right now for you guys, the branded content on YouTube per se? Or where do you see it? Or it's the next big thing? Because how do you see that?
It's definitely a business. We have a whole collabs team that is, works in parallel to my originals team. And my job as head of video is to really grow audience, right? My first priority is like get deep with that audience, grow the numbers, make sure that we all know each other really well and we like to be with each other. The collaborations team, which is our branded group, then basically can insert themselves into that ecosystem in a very natural and healthy way. Someone else here was saying that their RFP run went from 0 to huge. We're in exactly the same scenario right now. 6 months ago, our RFPs were, we were just getting started. Our collabs team had just come together, and now we're drilling RFPs 24 hours a day. That team is one of the busiest I know.
Any other questions? I got one. What type of content just doesn't work on social right now? Like, what should you be avoiding?
Well, for Upworthy, what's really, for me, what I constantly sort of keep front and center is that, we have 9 million followers on Facebook, and they're with us for a reason. They've liked, Upworthy for a reason. They also have probably liked 6 or 7 other things that are like us, but a different shade of us, or, so when we provide content into that expectation, they're looking for something that inspires them, something that they feel like they're going to invest 3 minutes of watching with us. They want something that's going to make a difference. So when we put something in that ecosystem that doesn't sort of follow our ethics, if you will, they immediately tell us, what the heck is this stuff? Why'd you put this in here? And often we learn that through our testing process, so it never actually hits the main page anyway. But so things that don't work. Celebrities being celebrities for celebritydom does not work. There's, celebrities making a difference with something they believe in. Like we have a video right now with Amy Schumer talking about body types. Fantastic, does really well. Other content that doesn't do well is like anyone who's preachy. Now that's an interesting thing for Upworthy. People kind of maybe have a stereotype of what we are in terms of being preachy, but we really aren't. We're really open to all kinds of opinions and ideas and perspectives, and that's what we're trying to show, is show all of those perspectives. So when someone gets up with a very certain point of view on something, that often does not perform well either.
Similar question, are there any platforms that just are not for video right now? Like Twitter, is that sort of a place that you guys are seeing any kind of traction in terms of video versus, of course not to the level of Facebook, but is that a place for video right now?
I think we want to be in places that we know are going to figure out monetization first and then extend there. So Facebook is obviously a huge focus in beta testing right now, kind of figuring out rights management and monetization. Twitter, haven't seen the traction that we were looking for. Obviously Snapchat has a big platform, but they're trying to figure out their monetization. I wanted to answer on that as well, which is just, for us, it's anything manufactured. And I actually think that's That's always been the case, which is the debate about is it actually organic, is it native, or is it someone manipulating video? For us, because we're all video creators, the more authentic it is, the better it resonates.
Cool. I think with that, we're done. Thanks everyone for staying.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, bro.